Hi friends, welcome to my very first YouTube video. I can't believe I'm finally saying this. This is literally over 5 years in the making. I am a type A perfectionist. I've been waiting for the perfect moment to officially start my YouTube channel. I'm a mom of three little kids, working full time, and I've been waiting for the right moment where I'm feeling good, my family's in a good place, work isn't too crazy, and to be honest, that just never happened. So 5 years later, here I am. As you might be able to hear from my voice, I am just getting over having bronchitis. This may not be the most polished YouTube video you've ever seen. I don't have everything figured out yet in terms of what this channel is going to look like. But here I am, and we're going to just dive in and see what happens. Before jumping into today's Budget With Me video, I thought it might be helpful to learn a little bit more about me, about our family, and what this channel is going to be about. So my name is Haley. I'm 36 years old. I'm married to my very best friend, Dan. We actually just celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary in October. Dan works in IT in a corporate setting. We live in Minnesota in a suburb with our three little girls, Cora, Ellie, and Bennett. Cora is 6, or she will be 6, I should say, in April. Acts like she's 16 already. Ellie is 4. She just turned 4. And then Bennett is 10 months old. They keep us crazy busy. It's so much fun, but man, life is so busy. Kind of with that in mind, I think this channel focus is really going to be about a couple things. First, one of my passions is family finance and how I've learned over the years to utilize our finances in a way to support our family's vision and our goals, and using it really as a tool and not to have it as something that is a stressor, but rather as something that can help us achieve what we envision for our family. What are our goals? What are our priorities? And use it to catapult us in the right direction. I have talked to so many people who view money as scary, who don't understand money, who may or may not have money left over at the end of the month and know what to do with it. And when you have little kids, it makes it even more scary because you're put in a position of like, this isn't even just about me. This is about them too. It's not just my future. It's the future of my family. And it's not just my vision. It's their vision too. It's just a lot more pressure. And so you're already placed in this position where you're wanting what's best for your family or wanting what's best for you. And you're dealing with something that just feels foreign and feels stressful. And everyone's dealing with different backgrounds when it comes to money, like how you were raised. Some households, maybe didn't have a lot of money growing up. Other households maybe had a lot of money but didn't manage it well. Like everyone has their own story. And at the same time, every family, every person, you're all going to have your own vision of what you want with your money. And it is hard when you don't know even where to begin. And after talking with so many people, I guess I just didn't realize truly how overwhelming money could be. I thought that was just something that I struggled with initially. And over time, I feel like I slowly started figuring it out for me and my family. But it took a long time, right? I came from a family that didn't have a lot of money. And I had to kind of figure it out on my own. And so if there's an opportunity for me to share with others what I've learned and how I've used, our family finances to try to set us up to achieve the visions and the goals that we've set, I'm happy to share that. I want this channel to be a two-way street, though. I want to be able to share what that vision is with you all that we've created and how I've set up our finances in a way that is going to push us in that direction. Tips, tricks, automation, things like that. Um, but I'd love to hear from you all too, because I want to learn from you as well. Um, I'm under no delusion that I know everything. I am always learning. That's one of the reasons why I love YouTube, and why I'm drawn to this platform is I'm constantly learning. And so I want this to be a place where we can learn from each other to build a community, and to support, because I think parents need as much support as we can get. Particularly like working parents, like it's insane out there. Life is really expensive. We're all so busy. Honestly, whether you're a stay-at-home parent, a working parent, it's crazy. So if we can support each other and learn from each other, that's so helpful. And I think money can be really overwhelming. And so I think that's one of the main areas that I'd like to focus on this channel. Talking about, ways to save at the grocery store. Tips and tricks that I use to not only cut back on my actual bill at the grocery store, but also like meal planning, ways to not have any food waste at home, ways to stay out of restaurants and fast food, things like that. I think that could be very helpful for families. I've been pretty successful at it, always looking for ways to improve, but happy to share. Also, working mom content. I think I'm in a very interesting place where my husband and I have decided to be done having children. So I'm a working full-time mom with three little kids. And balancing the needs of being a full-time attorney with having young kids, it's very demanding. And any sort of tips and tricks that I've picked up along the way, I'm happy to share. And I'd love to hear from you all on tips and tricks that you may come across as well. I'm also really kind of transitioning, I guess, into this mindset shift where, I still view myself as postpartum. I'm not quite at that 1 year mark yet, but I'm wanting to get back into sort of this goal setting phase where I'm looking more inward. I think I was just in this survival mode for so long. My third pregnancy was really hard, and it would be nice to start thriving and not just be in this survival mode anymore. Bennett is starting to sleep a little bit better. My family has just kind of gone through a sickness period, hence the bronchitis. We had strep throat in the family. It's been kind of a rough patch, but it would be great to just get back into like a more purposeful, goal-focused, intentional living path. And I don't know what that looks like yet. I've always been a big planner, and I want to get back into that. I feel like I lost a little bit of that, and because of the difficulty of having a difficult pregnancy, a newborn, three little kids, I want that part of me back. And I think it is possible to be a working full-time mom and thrive in that, while also thrive as a mom, and a partner, a spouse and a friend. But it takes a lot of intention and energy and focus. And I think that's where things like routine and habit and automation, home hacks and priorities all come into play. And these are all things that I'm really passionate about. And I'd love to share some of the tips and tricks that I've come up with over the years, with you all on this channel. Things that I have used to be more efficient on the day-to-day. One area that I personally really struggle with is my health. And I think that is because I have put my family first, going through 3 pregnancies over a 5-year period, pregnancy and then like the postpartum period. I've just sort of like let that go. The lack of sleep, it's been difficult. I'm sure many of you women can relate if you've been through that. And so I'm really ready to just kind of turn to this next chapter in life. And I want to share that with you. And I think we can learn from each other. So yeah, I think these are going to be at least what I'm envisioning now as to what this channel could be. As I mentioned, I am a bit of a perfectionist. This channel is 5 years in the making, um, because I wanted just to have everything figured out and planned and perfect and ready to go. And it's not. And this could change. But at the end of the day, I want to see where this goes. And I think the fact that this is somewhat unfinished and just naturally let this unfold, I think that's really exciting. And so with that, let's jump right in to my very first video, the March Family of Five budget with me. All right. So looking at the March budget, the first thing that I do each month before even getting into the numbers is I take a look at our calendar because I want to know what sorts of events are coming up that may lead to like larger expenses or things that I at least need to flag to allocate money toward, that either are coming up in March or in this case, it could even be April that I'd be planning for. So in this case, March is actually pretty quiet, which is nice. April, however, is crazy. So March, one of the main things that I'm flagging that could have an impact on our budget is actually, Dan and I are on paid parental leave right now. The state of Minnesota recently released a new program. It's like a paid leave program for new parents, along with other qualifying experiences where you can have time off of work and get partial pay. And so we're on that program right now. Dan goes back at the end of the month, and then I go back in April. And so because we're transitioning from a paid leave status to back to work, we do anticipate likely like some sort of stock up both through like groceries as well as like household goods and stuff. So I'm probably going to want to have a higher grocery budget and then also a higher household item budget this month, just in case I want to stock up to make our April a little bit of a smoother transition. And so I'm flagging that as one of our potential like major expenses for March. The other events that actually are occurring in April but could impact our March budget would be Easter. We aren't a huge, I don't spend a ton of money on Easter. We, of course, make a nice Easter meal. We get together with my family, and so it's like a potluck style, so not a huge expense. And I don't go crazy with Easter baskets and stuff like that. And so I will allocate some money to like a holiday like budget item for that. But so it's something to flag. It's not going to be crazy. But we do have 3 birthdays, and that's where things might be crazy. So we have Cora's birthday, Bennett's first birthday, and then Dan's 40th birthday, all in April. So I need to try to figure out, and this might be a whole separate video, but try to figure out how I want to manage those 3 events all in April in a way that's like cost effective, but also still very fun and enjoyable without overspending, but also, yeah, like just still having a really great time and like celebrating these milestone birthdays. And then, of course, making Cora's 6th birthday really exciting too. So those are kind of those big events that are going to be coming up and I'm going to be keeping in mind as we plan the March budget. So to get started, I I'm sharing my screen right now showing the budget template that I use. This is a template that I purchased from CoPlenty. I will see if I can get a link for this and share it in the video description. I always start by inserting what I think our income will be for the month. I have a couple different categories that I typically foresee in terms of income that we would anticipate each month. And so this does tend to change. And I'm just kind of guessing roughly what I anticipate. In this case, we are still on paid leave, so I have under other income what I anticipate us bringing in for the month. And then we use an Ally savings account, and then roughly what I'm anticipating our savings interest to bring in. I don't anticipate any other income at this time. So I always start there. And then in preparation for this video, I did insert our bills category. These are essentially our static bills. These are the bills that essentially don't change or just kind of our recurring bills each month. So we have our mortgage, our Excel, energy bill, and our Minnesota energy. These do change, but they're kind of just our recurring utility payments each month. Our T-Mobile bill does include my grandma. and then my student loans. We paid off a significant amount of student loans. This might also be a great video if you're all interested in kind of how we did this previously. We paid off about $110,000 of student loans between my husband and myself before we had kids. So this would have been like 2018, 2019. We were very aggressive over about a year and a half time span. And so this is a payment that I still have left over for my student loans. I'm on the student loan, the public service forgiveness program at this point. And so this is my remaining payment. I actually have hit the 10-year mark. And so I submitted my buyback request and I'm just kind of waiting for that to go through. If anyone's familiar with that program, because of this lawsuit, it's just sort of been a bit of a mess. I'm not sure if the buyback is going to go through in time. So I'm still just making my monthly payments to make up for those forbearance months that I couldn't make a payment, in hopes that I can still get these loans forgiven by the end of the year if the buyback request doesn't go through. So I am still making a student loan payment each month. It's fairly minimal, so it is what it is. But I do obviously include that in our budget. Daycare is actually something that is a variable that I have under bills because it is like a required payment each month. But depending on how much we're bringing in is going to dictate how much we allocate. I do have a minimum that we can talk about, but like for example, this month I think I might add a little bit more depending on sort of where all the other numbers land. We have two kids, both Ellie and Bennett are in daycare, and it is expensive. And so we can go over that in just a minute. Metronet is our internet. ADT is our security system. Water and garbage, we pay, I believe it's every other month for these two. These are not due this month. And then life insurance, we pay once a year. Car insurance is due. We pay this every 6 months in order to get a discount on our car insurance. We have two vehicles that we have insured. They're both older vehicles. It's a Mazda and then a Ford Explorer. And so we have really low insurance. We're also old. We're in our 30s, so that helps. YouTube Premium, I actually have to move this up, $25. And then taxes, I need to still figure out what we're going to do for our taxes. All right. So this basically, the way this kind of breaks out is I always start with our kind of our static bills here. And so the mandatory daycare requirement that we have to put in is $34.50. This is the total daycare amount divided by 12 months. And so this is like the minimum amount. I always like to have a little bit of extra in our savings account for daycare if I can. And so I always start with $34.50 just so I know at a minimum we have the correct amount going into savings. So I'm going to start here and then I'm going to scroll up. So as of now, I use a zero-based budget method. So our total income projected is $14,300, and this is net. So and this will be the same for when we return to work, and when we have our W-2 income. We contribute, we like max out on our retirement, and we have health and daycare savings and everything come out. We do like short and long-term disability, all of that. That all already comes out of our paychecks, and so everything that will be reflected in our budget here will all be post deductions. So in this case, we do a $0 budget. So here it's showing we have $6,675 left. After I do our static bills, as listed here, I go over to our debt payments because these are also required. We have a home equity loan. About a year and a half ago, we finished our basement, which was an amazing investment. We use our basement constantly. It's a great hangout area for our family. It is so comfortable. We love it. It was expensive, but worth every penny. So it's actually the minimum payment for that is $1,152, but we put $2,000 a month toward this payment just to try to pay it off a little bit sooner. It's about a little over a 5% interest rate, but the sooner we can get this paid off, the better, because it is a chunk of change each month, and it would be great to get rid of that. You know, between the home equity loan and the daycare payment, like it's a lot. And ironically, when I did the math, we're going to be getting rid of the loan and the daycare payment approximately at the same time. It's like within a month of each other. So we will have a huge income availability swing when that day comes. I think it's like August of 27 or something like that. So that will be an exciting day when that happens. But that won't be for a while. So we've got now our bills taken care of, the debt has been allocated. So next, what I like to do is handle our expenses. I know some people like handling the savings next. Typically, I do expenses because I want to make sure that our family's basic needs are met. And then whatever we have left over, I allocate to savings. Sometimes, if I know we have a big expense coming up, I will go over to savings first. One example is like, for example, Roth IRA is pretty static. You know, if I want to do a fully funded IRA contribution, I'm going to do 625, and then I know we've got 4,000 left over at that point. And so in this case, I'm going to hold off. I want to see, because we've got sort of a weird March and April coming up. I want to see sort of where we land with these expenses here. And then I'll see what we have left over for savings. So typically we spend about $700 a month in groceries for a family of 5. Because I'm anticipating doing a stock up this month, I'm going to say 800. My hope is about 200 of that could actually be stock up. So if I can be really strategic this month, I think we could very easily cut back about $100 on groceries to have a kind of a normal $600 a month spend in groceries, and then allocate 200 in doing some like freezer meals, things like that, to make April just a lot smoother as I go back to work and Dan is back at work. If you can't tell, I'm a little nervous about that transition. I think it'll be fine, but it's going to be a transition, and I want to make it as smooth as possible for us. Dining out, we do not eat out very often. To be honest, most of our dining out is the Costco, like little restaurant thing, like cafe area, which is embarrassing to admit. But honestly, if you're sleeping on Costco pizzas, you're missing out because they're amazing. So I'm going to allocate, I'll say $100 to dining out. Every once in a while, the girls like to go to McDonald's and play like at their little jungle gym. So sometimes we do that. We aren't really anticipating any like group dining out experiences or anything. I might have like a meet up with some girlfriends, something like that, but it's very rare. So I think $100 should be fine. Fuel, normally I do 150. Given some world incidences, I'm anticipating maybe a little bit more in fuel, given some increases in gas, and so I'm going to do 175. Shopping and miscellaneous. This is kind of exactly as it sounds. It's sort of just random items that I don't really know where it belongs. I usually just do 50. One thing that I'll note about my budget that might be a little unique compared to how other people budget is I kind of view this as like a living document, living budget. Meaning like this isn't really like a rule. Like if I hit $50 on shopping or $800 on groceries, like I can't spend another penny. Like, no, that's just not realistic. We're a family of 5. Life happens, things come up. You can't always plan for every little thing. This is, to me, meant to be like guidance. It's meant to steer us in the right direction. And it's my way of like checking in throughout the month. Like, are we on the right path? Are we going down, are we prioritizing something different? Do we need to make some changes? Do we need to shift some money? Like maybe I anticipated spending a little bit more on birthdays early on while we had an unexpected expense come up. Well, now maybe I need to hold off on birthday expenses for a little bit. Things like that. So I just wanted to mention that. I think like where this miscellaneous category comes in, it is helpful just to know that like I am not extremely rigid about my budget. I think this just helps give me a visual as to like where our money is going. Are we on track? Are we overspending? Are we really living up to where our priorities are? And that I think is very helpful, even if we're not using this like super restrictive approach to budgeting. Okay, moving on. So household items. As I mentioned, I might do a little bit of stock up on household items. In February, I did do a little bit of a stock up because Costco had some really great sales. So I'm only going to do 150, which is actually my normal budget now that I think about it, because I just don't think we need a whole lot. This might end up changing if I see some good sales at Costco, but overall, I don't foresee there needing to be much. Clothing, I am going to say 100 because we are in March. We're transitioning to a different season. Living in Minnesota, it's weird. Like we'll get a 50-degree day and then it's like 10 degrees. So like you just never really know where we're at, but we are moving in the right direction. It's going to get warmer. So I just wanted to allocate a little bit of money in case, we do want to start getting some warmer clothes, or excuse me, some cooler clothes as it starts to warm up. Gifts, birthdays, and treating others. All right, this is where I am really unsure how we want to do this. I'm thinking I'm going to say 300 for now. I know this is a little low. Let me see where we're at. 3,000. Okay. I know this is a little low. I do have a sinking fund that I'm going to do a video on. I'm going to go over all of our sinking funds today, just at a very high level, and then I'll do another deeper video on our sinking funds and how I've set those up. I have a birthday sinking fund. I'm ideally not going to touch it if possible. I think $300 is a great place just to start for birthdays and treating others. We don't have any other birthdays that we'd be buying for other than my mother-in-law in April. And so I think for the most part, 300 is a great allocation, just at least for March. Hoping to not have to go too much higher than that. Health and self-care. This covers things like hair appointments, vitamins, shampoo, conditioner, medicine, makeup, anything like that. I'm going to do 150 for that. That's for me and my husband. We have a separate category down here for all of our girls' expenses. So this would be like all of their stuff. I like to keep all of their things separate just for my own brain. I just like kind of tracking their things separate from ours. There's really a lot of different ways you can budget. Some people like having less categories. It's easier, to categorize when you're going through your transactions. Others like more detailed because it's easier for them to see where their money is going, and I fall into that category. I am kind of a data junkie in a way where I just like knowing, okay, are we spending our money in a way that aligns with our priorities? And I think the more categories I have within reason helps me make that judgment call. And so that's why I think I've set this up in a way that I have. The categories that I've chosen are very specific. Like for example, alcohol, tobacco, bars. That's one of those categories that is not a priority to us. So if this amount gets high, that's telling me that we're overspending. We aren't big drinkers. Dan tends to drink more like beer than I just am not a drinker. So Dan will drink beer, but like neither of us are huge drinkers. And so this is just one of those categories where like if it does get high, it's usually because it's like there's an event or something. And so I like having that as a separate category because if for some reason it ticks up, it's like, okay, what's going on? That's weird. So I'm going to just put 50 for that in case we get like a case of beer or something. We have people over, kind of a thing. Home updates, repair, yard work. This, I think I'm going to do 250. I don't really anticipate a whole lot of home projects. However, it is our last month on leave. And so if there are things around the house that we want to do, like this would be a good time to do it. So I want to make sure we have some money allocated. I think 250 is a great place to start. I might need to move money around later. We'll just see where we're at with 250. So we're at 2,500. Okay, so holidays. We've got Easter coming up, and then St. Patrick's Day. I do like to make Reubens, which is actually kind of ridiculously expensive now with the cost of deli meat. But so I might say like 100 because I'm going to likely need to get all of our Easter stuff and then the stuff for Reubens. Yeah, probably $100. Coffee shops, we don't get coffee often. $25 would likely get, maybe do 40 because that's basically enough for like my family to have 2 coffee shop outings. Vehicle repair and maintenance, I don't see any need for that. I'm going to put 0 for now. Fees and taxes. I don't anticipate any fees or taxes this month. Tech purchases 0. We aren't working. Entertainment and travel. We just got back from Disney World. And so honestly, travel 0. Entertainment. It would be nice to still have some money to go do something fun. We have like a Zoom membership though, which we can do for free. It's starting to get nicer out, so going for walks and stuff like that. I don't know, maybe $75. I don't go see a movie or something. I don't know. It's hard with little kids. There's only so much we can do. Maybe an indoor playground. So I guess I'll just say 75. Girls, they are expensive. I will say 200. That could just be anything from diapers to formula to toys, minifigs. They love Legos. It could be anything. And then large purchases, we aren't anticipating anything. So looks like we've got about $2,135 left. So I think that would be fine. I would like to bump up daycare to 4,000 because April is going to be a lower income month, me returning back to work. So that drops us down to 1,585. And then I would like to pick back up on our Roth IRA savings. So that would be 625. So that leaves $960. Okay. So I can go over our savings accounts. The way we have this set up, it's based off of different priorities that we have. And they're different, basically, targets. So we have our Roth IRA. That is my account. I am a pension employee, and so I have a Roth set up through our financial advisor. I contribute to a brokerage account, typically monthly. I've had this on pause for a while, and I'm about to start saving again. And so I'd like to do fully fund that each year. In order to do that, that's $625 a month. So I'm going to allocate the full amount there. Dan and I contribute to 529 plans for all of our nieces and nephews. And we do this for their birthdays and Christmas instead of giving gifts. We're kind of the boring aunt and uncle in this regard, but honestly, all of our nieces and nephews have a lot of aunts and uncles, and they get so many presents. And we really value education, and we view this as sort of like our way of giving back in a non-traditional sense. They don't even realize that they're not getting gifts from us, honestly. And when they turn 18, they will really appreciate the chunk of change that they get from these accounts. And if they don't go to school, or if they get like a full ride or something, they can roll the 529 into a retirement account, assuming that rule still exists. So I feel like it's a win-win. We essentially, I can talk about how I've set these up and how I track in a separate video. If that's something you're interested in, post that in the comments and let me know. But like I have basically like a chart where I keep track of all of our niece and nephews' accounts, how much needs to be put into each one, and then I have them basically identified per year. And so this month I don't have anything allocated. We kind of do lump sum amounts each year, so then we don't have to keep doing it every month. So this is going to be 0, but that's basically what this line is. We have a fully funded emergency fund. This is something that is really important to have set up. We have this in our separate Ally account. I can talk about this in a separate video, but nothing is needing to be allocated to this. One sinking fund that I have set up for us that I don't see a lot of other financial content creators talking about is a technology sinking fund. This might just be because my husband is in tech, but like I feel like technology is one of our biggest expenses when it comes to replacement costs, alongside like maybe home maintenance. But replacing things like computers, iPads, phones, tablets for kids, we want to update our security system, TVs. I mean, I feel like tech has become such a huge expense. So we have created a sinking fund for that. So every time, Dan sees something like it's a good deal, like whether it's an Apple Watch or whatever, and he's like, I've been needing to replace this. We have the money there and we don't have to put it on a credit card. That's the beauty of a sinking fund. And so we have a tech sinking fund. We have a house maintenance sinking fund. So if something breaks down, we need to replace an appliance, or we just want to do, like maybe we need to paint a room and we don't have extra money in our budget for that month, we can pull from our house maintenance sinking fund. We have an annual payment sinking fund. This is for like the life insurance that I was talking about. We pay annually. We could pull from that if we need it. I have a law license fee that I have to pay, things like that. We have just a pile of different expenses that come out annually. Clothing sinking fund. This is one that I created recently that I haven't even started officially funding yet because I'm postpartum. I'm hoping to essentially like revamp my wardrobe at some point once I get to a better place, like physically. And that's going to be expensive. Like I mentioned in this video, I've had 3 babies over a 5-year period and my body's just not the same as it used to be. And so I'd like to update my wardrobe at some point. And so I'd like to slowly put money away so that's not as impactful on our budget when the time comes. Birthdays, because we have birthdays in February, my birthday's in March, and then 3 birthdays in April. It's just a lot of birthdays all at once. And so I do have a birthday sinking fund. Christmas, of course, is very expensive. Vacation sinking fund. A car upgrade. We would like to eventually get a van, I think. I think that's what we're going to do. Really, ideally, we would just always have sort of like a car upgrade fund going. We are of the mindset that we would like to just run our vehicles kind of into the ground. They're a depreciating asset. There really isn't a financial benefit to buying a new vehicle other than just like the enjoyment of having a nicer, newer car. A van does make a lot of sense, but just financially doesn't make sense right now. And so we would like to just slowly put money away to be able to afford a van. We can't justify a monthly payment right now. So we have a sinking fund set up. We haven't started contributing yet, but we'd like to prioritize that soon. We do have a car maintenance sinking fund that we do contribute to. We have large purchases sinking fund. This is sort of like a sinking fund that we will be utilizing if we have like a large project we want to do, or like let's just say we decide that we want to purchase like an RV or something. I don't know. Some sort of like larger purchase that we want to stash money away for just a larger item. We have this as an option. We have our ally account basically set up into all these little buckets. And so that's the nice thing about having this sinking funds broken up like we do, is so we can know exactly like how much money is in each one of these little funds. So ally is a great source for that. And then lastly, I do also have 529 accounts for Cora, Ellie, and Bennett. And so we have a separate savings plan for those 3 girls, for our girls, outside of the nieces and nephews, that we are still kind of figuring out how we want to fund that. And so this is going to be sort of something we figure out over time. Right now, we do have some money in all 3 accounts, but we don't have like a consistent funding schedule. So that's something that we need to figure out. So yeah, still in progress there, hoping to probably figure that out in the next like year or two, to have some sort of like consistency. Now, a lot of people online, a lot of content creators will fund like a little bit in all of these accounts. Right now, Dan and I aren't really doing that. We are thinking about what our priorities are right now, what our upcoming expenses are now, and kind of putting larger amounts into those sinking funds. So we're making kind of more progress on less sinking funds versus like a little bit of progress on a lot of sinking funds. So scrolling back up, we've got $960 left for March. With that in mind, I think what we will probably do is fund $400 in the tech fund. And then I'm thinking probably about 6, maybe 400 in house maintenance, and then like 160 in annual payments. Tech fund is getting a little low. We've had some computer issues, and so I just want to make sure that we have enough money in our tech fund should we have a computer issue. House maintenance, I feel like that's something that we're always pulling from, and so I just want to make sure that's adequately funded. And then annual payments, we have some upcoming expenses. My law license is due pretty soon here. And so I just want to make sure that we have enough money in our annual payments fund, along with some taxes that will be coming out soon. And so I want to just at least put a little bit in that one to make sure that we're set. Okay, so I'll put 160.27 to be real precise, to get to that zero-based budget. All right, so yeah, that's what we're looking at for March. I hope that this video was enjoyable and helpful for you all. If you are interested in, budget content, family finance, working mom, productivity type content, subscribe to my channel, follow along. I'd love to have you join my community. I will be following up with some new videos. I think next up I'll be talking about like sinking funds. I have like a meal planning video of how I approach meal planning for a family of 5, how I approach kind of, navigating grocery stores and like making sure that I stay around that like $700 a month budget. So definitely subscribe if you want to follow along. I'd love to have you. Thanks so much.